Hello to everybody who's feeling a little bit under the weather. It's Beautiful Anonymous, 1 hour, one phone call, no names, no holds barred.
I'd rather go one-on-one. I think it'll be more fun, and I'll get to know you, and you'll get to know me.
Hi, everybody. It's Chris Gethard here, and I know not everybody loves an intro. If you ordered the magazine and haven't sent us your address, please listen to the intro this time. That being said, if you just want to get to the call, I didn't do a great job timing it, but I think if you skip like 8 or 9 minutes ahead, that should put you right towards the beginning of the call. Actually, it might be closer to 7. I don't know. It's somewhere in that range. You'll figure it out. Thanks so much for listening. Hi, everybody. Chris Gethard here, and welcome to Beautiful Anonymous, the show where we explore the human condition one anonymous phone call at a time. I feel so lucky, as always, to bring you this show. We are coming up on 500 episodes, which feels so weird to say, so wild to say, and I'm sure I'll get very nostalgic about the early days of the show in the coming months. But for now, a few things to tell you about. One is that I've caught wind. It has been explained to me that a lot of people use YouTube as their podcast platform of choice, and that was never part of our infrastructure when we started many years ago. I think people thought of those as very separate, but it has been pointed out to me, hey, it's a huge platform for people who like podcasts. So if you are someone who enjoys listening to podcasts on YouTube, you can now go to my YouTube at youtube.com/Chris Geth, and every episode we've ever done is there. And as long as we pushed all the right buttons, it should update automatically every single week. So if you want to listen to Beautiful Anonymous on YouTube, you can now do that. You can throw it on in the background as you work from home or do dishes or whatever it is that you like to do as you listen on YouTube. We now have that. Go to youtube.com/Chris Gethard or Chris Geth. youtube.com/Chris Geth, I believe, and it'll bring you over there. And that's actually very fun for me because that has mostly served as an archive of my old TV show, and it's a dormant channel. And it's cool to be able to put Beautiful Anonymous in the same place as that and realize it's kind of an archive of a lot of stuff I've cared about over the years. And thanks so much. Hey, everybody, the magazine, thanks to everybody who signed up. I will tell you that we've got over 1,500 people who have now signed up at beautifulanonymous.com. If we got to 2,000, I would have gotten a huge financial windfall, but we didn't quite get there, and that's okay. That's totally fine. I think we are past the time where it could happen. So I'm not going to worry about it or be stressed about it. But I have to say, it's so cool. And so many people signed up recently to get a copy of the magazine, and to the point where they even reached out to us. The people who run the infrastructure over at Supporting Cast were like, you guys are seeing a big bump in your numbers. What's going on? We said, well, we made a cool little fanzine. And that magazine is now going out into the world. If you signed up to get one, you should have received an email and audio in your feed letting us know how you can get your address to us. You got to send us your address. So I know there's some steps to that, but we've got many, many hundreds of people who heard it and who reached out and are excited. But if you signed up at beautifulanonymous.com to get the magazine and you got there in time, you need to check your spam folder. You need to check your audio. Maybe if you're somebody who lets the audio pile up and you just listen to the bonus stuff all at once when you're on a road trip or something, you're going to want to go ahead and check those things and get us your address. We will obviously work really hard to get everyone their magazine. But that being said, it's just simple logic. If you don't send us your address, we don't know where to send it. So again, you got to get us that address. If you signed up for the magazine, check your email, check that spam. You can also hear it. It was dropped into your audio feed, which, being that you signed up for the audio stuff and whatnot, that means that it's sitting there for you. So go ahead and check that ASAP and let us know where to send it. I have packed up the first handful today. I'm so excited for people to see them. I'm giggling because now comes the time where we try to keep the postage as low as possible, and we start figuring out how that's going to work. And I'm so excited for people to see it. I actually didn't even realize I have a couple people who live in my neighborhood, a couple of my neighbors who are subscribers at beautifulanonymous.com. And I was able to drop off the first 2 copies by just ringing a couple of my neighbors' doorbells and handing it to them in person. And it felt really cool. And I'm excited for a whole bunch of you to see it. Again, it's going to take us forever to get every single copy out. So they'll get to you eventually. And thanks so much to everybody who rallied around that idea. I can't wait for you to check it out. Also, it needs to be said, the people emailing us your addresses, I noticed it. Andrea pointed it out as well. The number of people that are sending emails that are like, hey, here's my address, of course. And now that we got that out of the way, let me just say something kind about the show or about the work Andrea does or about what I've built over almost a decade here. Your kindness is seen. Your kindness is appreciated. Your kindness is motivating. It keeps us going in ways you can't even imagine. So just to say thank you all for your kindness. And it is seen with a barrage of almost 1,500 emails. It's going to be hard for us to answer all of them, but I just need you to know they're out here. We're seeing them and we appreciate them and they keep us going. So thank you so much, everybody. Now let's get down to business. This week's episode is borderline 2 separate calls in a way, and I really enjoy that. And I would say that in thinking back to it, we had a really great call on our hands, and I'm happy about that. And if we had spent the whole time talking about this caller's passionate opinions on and experiences with wine, I would have been so happy. We could talk about wine for an hour. If we could talk about Star Trek: The Next Generation for an hour, we can certainly talk about wine for an hour. But we didn't. We didn't, because I think once the trust was there and once the comfort was there, the caller got very comfortable opening up to us. And I will say this show, in the early days, it was kind of a cliche, a little bit of a knock on the show that a lot of people called up to talk about mental health. And sometimes I have my guard up when calls go in that direction. Sometimes I get a little worried. I'm not any sort of trained therapist, and it's sometimes very daunting, and sometimes I need to look out for my own state of mind. So sometimes I get a little nervous, but this is a take that was so unique. And I think we've had other calls that have gone in this direction before, but what's it like to be right next to someone who's really suffering in terms of mental health? We've had a handful of calls, but I don't remember one that had this many layers to it. I don't know that's true. What I should say is this. Every call that I can think of about someone watching someone else struggle with mental illness, they are all heartbreaking and wildly unique in a way that is such a reminder of the different forms this can take and the unpredictability of it. And if we're being honest, probably part of why it's still such a stigmatized conversation, because there's no roadmap to this stuff. The caller is dealing with one of her closest family members, really in the depths of some things that you wouldn't wish on anybody, to a level that is so painful. But you will also hear this caller who is dealing with this at a relatively very young age be able to talk about how to compartmentalize all of this, how to move on, how to prioritize knowing what's possible, and how to protect yourself, how to protect the people around you, how to protect the people you love, even when they are suffering, even when you are disconnected from them. I think there's so much to it. And there's so much meat on the bones of this conversation. I think A lot of people are going to love the first half. It's a caller who's got the sniffles telling us about wine. And then the second half gets very, very personal and meaningful and thoughtful. Makes me really proud of this show. Thanks so much, everybody. And hey, remember, beautifulanonymous.com. We make great stuff. Every episode has extra stuff on it. It's ad-free. You get bonus follow-ups with past callers and a private phone number for people if you're at the touchtone tier and above. So check it out and enjoy it if you wish. That being said, enjoy this call. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you for calling Beautiful Anonymous. A beeping noise will indicate when you are on the show with the host.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry, I'm a little sick.
Oh, no. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm just having a little sick day at home.
That stinks. I mean, it stinks to be sick. It's nice to get time at home, though.
Sort of, yeah. I live in New York. I guess you're in Jersey, so same thing where you are, but it's like kind of a gloomy day anyway, so I don't feel like I'm missing out on much.
Yeah. Are you in the city?
Yeah, I live in Manhattan.
How are you enjoying it? How do you like Manhattan?
I love it and I hate it, and it's a really complicated place to live. I've lived here for 4 years now, and I'm actually about to leave. It's something that I did want to talk to you about, but we don't have to get into that right away. But yeah, I really do like it here, but it definitely wears you down. I have a really hard time like comparing myself to other people and like feeling like I'm doing enough in a day. Like even a day of staying inside, like I am sick. I deserve to stay inside, but I feel like I'm wasting a day. I don't know if that's something that you ever felt when you lived here.
Oh, for 16 straight years, that hustle culture is very real. And it's the most fun place I'll ever live. And certainly as an artist, so many things in my life would not have happened without New York, but it also does chip away at your sanity and your soul a little bit. And for me, when it hit a breaking point, I had to get out. There was no argument. I had to go. I did not feel safe, and I felt so perpetually exhausted by living in New York City. And it was sad because I loved it for about 15 years. And then that last year I was like, I got to go. This city has won. I have lost.
Can I ask what happened in that last year?
My answer will sound particularly arrogant. But I flirted with fame and it got weird. I had a TV show that was on, and there were posters with my face on them in the subway, but I wasn't making good enough money to just take cars. So I was still taking the subway, and there'd be people like looking at posters of me on the subway, and then I'm on the subway, and a couple things that started to happen where, one time I was with my wife and someone just started whispering the word Gethard to see if I would turn around. And I made her very sad because I had to ask her if she heard it, because I wasn't sure if I was hallucinating. She was like, no, I heard it.
Oh, wow.
Another time where I was eating by myself in a diner and someone put a picture on Facebook and tagged me in it. And when I opened it, it was me at the diner where I was currently still eating. So I just knew someone was taking pictures of me and I didn't know where. So, New York is great when you're young. I think New York is great when you're rich.
For sure.
To wind up in a situation where I was visible enough for people to whisper my name, but not rich enough to have any sense of privacy, was a bad match. Plus, let's be honest, I have always been a Jersey guy. You will not find any evidence of my entire time in New York where I ever viewed it as permanent. I loved it so much. I loved Jackson Heights in particular, but I always knew I was a Jersey guy and I'd wind up back here.
Wow.
What about it is kicking your ass?
Well, I'm 2 years out of college and I work in restaurants and I don't know what I want to do with my life. And I can't really afford to live here anymore. And you know, it's hard because I know I'm not just saying this because I haven't been able to get a desk job. Like, I actually do not want a desk job, and I do enjoy working in restaurants. And I think that working in restaurants is a real job. Like, I'm not like, I'm not the person who says it's not. It's a very real job, and it's a job that I am very proud to do, and I've been doing for a long time. And I think there's a lot about it that I really like, and yet I still feel this pressure that it doesn't have this like longevity to like sustain me or to go further, you know? And so I ended up focusing in on a particular aspect of the restaurant world that I was drawn to, which was like the wine world. And I took a sommelier course and I just passed my exam, crazy enough, just a couple weeks ago. So I'm like a certified sommelier now.
Hey, congrats.
Thank you. I wasn't really expecting it. I was kind of just doing it out of interest. And so now I'm kind of like, well, I have this whole new thing under my belt that I could use to go and travel. That's the other thing is I want to see more of the world as well. And you can't do that when you're stuck in like the corporate world. And so it feels kind of like a blessing and a curse, but I have this freedom that I do want to take advantage of. But it's so hard to come to terms with, and then making any sort of plan is really hard as well. But my lease ends in like 2 months. So I don't have a ton of time, but I don't think I'll be re-signing.
Do you have any plan on where you're going after this?
I have a couple ideas. What I would probably do is go back home and work my old summer job to save a little bit of money over the summer. And then I'd love to go work. So basically there's like two harvests a year, like for vineyards. There's the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, and they're flipped. So for anywhere in the northern hemisphere, it usually starts in about August and goes through October. So I could time it right and go to pretty much anywhere in the northern hemisphere, and you can, usually like work for free and get this experience of working a vineyard harvest. So there's a couple places. I mean, I could do like California, Napa, Sonoma, something like that, but I kind of want to go outside of the country, like maybe Portugal or Spain. And then the southern hemisphere harvest will be the start of 2026 from like January to March. And I really want to go to New Zealand and do that. But I have some time to kill before then. So I feel like I kind of envision myself going home for a bit, then going and working a harvest in somewhere in the northern hemisphere, and then maybe just doing some backpacking in between. Like, I really want to go to Southeast Asia. I've never been before. And then maybe like touching base back home for Christmas, and then going to New Zealand like early next year. But how does that sound?
Sounds like the trip of a lifetime. Sounds like you've made some choices professionally that give you the freedom to go on adventures. Sounds amazing. Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's really scary. I don't know. I just can't help but feel like I'm not quite living the life that I want to live here, if that makes sense. And I think my experience with New York is I just will never fully be like satisfied with where I am. And that's kind of, it's hard to feel that way. And maybe I'm running from it. I don't want to like assume that my life will, like, the things that trouble me will not follow me wherever I go. Like, I know that that's a very real possibility, but on the other side of that coin, it's like, who knows what like, who even knows what can happen in a year of just traveling and seeing the world. And I don't have anything keeping me here. And it's like, it's sad, but it's also so freeing and kind of exciting. And I'm really trying to, like, I tend to be kind of like a pessimistic person. So I'm really trying to, like, lean into, like, how exciting the unknown actually is, instead of, like, going into the worst case scenario, which is that I go away, I spend all my money, I don't gain any meaningful experiences, and then I try to come back and I can't afford it, and I'm just a year older than I was, and I can't get a job. Like, that's kind of where my brain keeps going, because that's, like, the worst case scenario.
I hear you. And I'll also say, too, some of it's personality, some of it's the tracks that we go down. But New York does bring the pessimism out, too. New York can bring the cynicism out. It can bring out joy and adventures and this spirit of unpredictability. It can also make you a pessimist. So I think a little detox from the city life might help with that as well. But to me, hearing that you've got your sommelier certification and you can now go find work in different countries during the harvest and then buffer it with backpacking adventures, I sit there, I'm like, that sounds like one of the best plans I've heard for someone in your situation. I don't see any reason to be cynical about that. The idea that you could sit here and go, I found some context. Where's the wine country with the next harvest? Chile. Okay, I'll go to Chile for a while. I'll put my skills to the test there. And then I'm sure that also means that when you come back to the States and you want something a little more permanent, all of those experiences are resume builders. They're not just adventures. They're things that the next time, if some fine dining place is looking for sommelier, and you can go, I've worked vineyards in New Zealand and South America and Europe, that they're all going to look at it and go, that's job development. The idea that you as a young person have merged adventures with resume builders, I feel like you got to not be cynical or doubt that at all. That sounds amazing.
Okay, thank you. That is reassuring. Okay.
You said you're only a couple years out of college.
Yeah, I'm 23.
Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, most of our listeners right now are going, if I had been 23 and had figured out a way to make it a professional development for my LinkedIn to go backpacking in New Zealand, I feel like I could speak for all of our listeners in their upper 30s through mid 40s when I say every single person would jump on that if they could go back in a time machine.
Okay, you're making me, I'm like smiling. Okay, good. Thank you. You're making me feel, okay. I'm sorry, I feel like I should take a step back. I didn't even like ask you how you're doing, and I feel really rude about that. I'm really sorry. I kind of just launched into my whole thing. How are you doing today?
That's very sweet of you. And not everybody slows down and asks. I'm doing good. I had a sort of really crazy busy week, but the tension on that broke over the past 2 days. And what else? March Madness has started. My beloved Big East Conference has won their first 2 games. And I have a happy, lucky life. My wife and I are really getting along, doing great. Our kid makes me laugh, even though he had a report card come in yesterday and it was kind of bad, but it makes me giggle, as you can hear. So
what was bad about it?
It's funny. Hallie is very stressed out because it's all of our listeners, I think, will get a chuckle out of this, because you look at this kid's report card and it's like he's doing very, very average, everything academic, and he's a kindergartner, so they don't even give letter grades. They give you a 1, 2, or 3. And he's got 1, 2, 3, or 4 if you really excel. He's got mostly 3s. There were a bunch of areas where he had 2s on his first report card that have been moved up to 3s. So he's gone from like needs to work on it to meeting the average. He only has 1 4 on his entire report card, which is for art. Like the only thing where he excels is where he gets to be creative. And the comments that his kindergarten teacher left are, It's like he needs to focus and he needs to find some motivation and want to put in the effort. He's perfectly capable, but he just refuses to kind of focus up and do his best work. And Hallie was like, this seems really bad. And then I read it and I'm like, this seems like he's exactly like how I was start to finish in my school experience, and has already proven that in kindergarten. Where I'm like, yeah, the only thing that gets him excited is the artistic stuff, and everything else he's doing fine, but visibly phoning it in. Yeah, that was me. It was me from kindergarten through college graduation.
Yeah. You can't, I mean, art is the interesting part of going to school. I'm completely with him on that. I hope that he continues to give that his all.
Oh, I love him. I love him loving art. I think that's awesome. Hearing like, hey,
yeah,
he's getting a 2 in spelling, but I know he's perfectly capable of spelling. He just won't actually sit down and write down the words. I'm like, yep, that sounds very familiar. Sounds very familiar to my experience. So Hallie was stressed out and I was chuckling, if I'm being honest.
That's cute. I don't think there's anything to worry about with that. That seems like, as long as he's capable, like he's kind of decided what warrants his full energy and full attention. And as long as he's capable, if he really needs to be, that's kind of perfect.
I got no qualms with that. Back to you. What are the big wine producing countries? You mentioned New Zealand, obviously France. You mentioned the whole Napa Valley area of America. I know Chile is a wine country because I visited there for a friend's wedding years ago. What are the other countries you might get to go bounce around in?
So it's basically, have you ever had a sommelier on the podcast before? Or am I the first one?
I think you're our first sommelier. There may be other people who have never mentioned it. I don't know. There may be people who are sommeliers.
No, I feel like if they were somms, they would probably mention it. I'm also like entry, like, I don't know, anybody that's listening, like, you probably know more than I do, but I'm just starting out with my wine journey. But basically, like, winemaking regions are split into the old world and the new world. And the old world is basically like within Europe, and they use like older winemaking techniques, and then there's different like regulations with labeling. And so the main countries in the old world are France, Italy, Spain. Those are like the big 3 of Europe. And then Portugal is like a more minor one. We learned about in my class, like, they called it like ancient lands, like Georgia. Germany and Austria are also really big. I completely spaced about those, but those are big ones as well. But in terms of ancient lands like Georgia, Israel, we learned about like what else? Lebanon.
You mentioned Georgia. Well, you got me excited because, again, anybody who listens knows sometimes I just have a weird nerdy knowledge about things. Am I correct in remembering that Georgia still practices ancient winemaking techniques where they bury their wines in big clay pots that go underground? Yes,
it's called a kevri, the big clay pot.
And that's some old school stuff, right?
Yeah. That's like very, very ancient world, and that's unique to Georgia. I remember learning about that and finding that to be super interesting. How do you know about that?
Because I'm a nerd and I just pick things up. And one of my favorite basketball players, Sandro Mamukelashvili, who played for the Seton Hall Pirates, my beloved Seton Hall Pirates, was from Georgia. Now he plays for the Spurs and mostly rides the bench, but pops off every once in a while. But he's from Georgia, and I've gone to a couple Georgian restaurants, and somehow between those things, my algorithm has shown me videos of Georgian ancient winemaking techniques, which of course then I need to know as much about as possible. So I read about how they bury big clay pots full of grapes and let it ferment. So there's a part of you that could go like, yeah, it's a valid professional notch in my belt if I can somehow find a reason to go through Georgia and drink ancient wine that is fermented underground.
Yeah, I mean,
That's so cool.
I think so. Hopefully I can spin it that way. And fun fact about Georgia, they're one of, I could be wrong about this. Well, I know I'm partially right. I just don't know if they're the first country or if, like, I think they are one of the first countries to ever make orange wine, which is like really having a moment right now. But it was like first invented in Georgia. That's just like a side note. I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that correctly. I know they have like a tie to orange wine.
That's so cool.
And then, sorry, yeah, it is pretty cool. It's fun to talk about. I'm glad that you know about Georgia. That's so random.
Let's get nerdy. So we've covered Europe.
Yeah.
Where else? Let's pause right there. I'm very excited to hear about South American wine. And I don't drink alcohol. I haven't for many years. But if you want to have a nerdy conversation about different wine-producing hotspots, I'm so ready. It's the type of conversation that gets me out of bed in the morning. Anyway, we'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by IQ Bar, our exclusive snack sponsor. IQ Bar is the better for you plant protein-based snacks made with brain-boosting nutrients to refuel, nourish, and satisfy hunger without the sugar crash. I love IQ Bar. I love all their products. I probably am most obsessed with the IQ Bar right now. Everybody knows my wife is obsessed with IQ Joe, a.k.a. coffee sticks, and I really wish that this episode where our caller was under the weather, that I had the wherewithal to remind her that IQ Mix is a fantastic drink at all times, but it's a hydration mix, and especially when you're sick, it has saved my butt so many times. Love IQ Bar. The plant protein bars are packed with high-quality ingredients to help keep you physically and mentally fit. I had one for breakfast this morning. I had a peanut butter chip, and it was delicious. IQ Bar is totally free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial sweeteners for a natural anytime snack. With over 20,000 five-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are starting their days on the right foot with IQ Bar's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. You've heard me say it. I have an IQ Bar for breakfast almost every single morning. It's a great way to start my day. Recently bought my wife a 40-pack of the IQ Joe. Keep that in mind, everybody. That's how you always know when I'm coming at you from the heart. I did not say that they sent it to me for free just because they advertise here. I went and purchased it. My wife loves them. And again, IQ Mix is incredible. Our caller this week, under the weather caller, if you happen to be hearing this, if you listen after the fact, IQ Mix will help keep you hydrated, help keep you above the curve, especially when you got those sniffles. It's just really good products, and I keep them in my bag all the time. And I'm traveling next week, which is a good reminder to me, throw a couple of the IQ Mixes and the IQ Bars in my bag. I always like having them when I travel. And right now, IQ Bar is offering our special podcast listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products. Plus, get free shipping. To get your 20% off, text BEAUTIFUL to 64,000. Text BEAUTIFUL to 64000. That's BEAUTIFUL to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping you and your family's personal information from data broker websites. If you don't know about these things, look them up. It's really daunting and really scary. Delete Me, by the way, it's not just a one-time service. They get to work and they stay working for you. Delete Me constantly monitors and removes the personal information you don't want on the internet. I will tell you that I think you've all seen it over the years I've been doing this show. I have lived more privately in recent years. Now, obviously, some of that is that I had a kid, I'm older, there's people that I need to, be very mindful of the fact that they're not looking to be public figures. And I spent my 20s and 30s chasing that. Now I'm in my 40s and I'm a dad. I want to make sure my family's safe. I will also say I have been in situations where people have been very intense, and I have picked up on the fact that sometimes people were out there on the internet saying things about me that felt like they were way beyond a point I felt comfortable with. And it was very necessary for me to make sure that I was doing everything I could to get that personal info of mine really in check and really wrangled. And I cannot stress this enough. Delete Me stepped in and gave me such huge peace of mind, knowing that this piece of the puzzle, these data broker websites that profit off of making your info publicly available, Delete Me stepped in, got to work, and made me feel exponentially safer. And especially in a time when there was a lot of stress surrounding this situation, I can't thank Delete Me enough, and I can't let you know enough that they're out here really setting the bar very high as far as this protecting your information goes. Take control of your data, keep your private life private, sign up for Delete Me, now at a special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/beautiful and use promo code beautiful at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is go to joindeleteme.com/beautiful. Enter code beautiful at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/beautiful, code beautiful. Thanks so much to all our advertisers. Now let's get back to the phone call. Let's get nerdy. So we've covered Europe. Where else?
Okay, yeah. So let's go down to the Southern Hemisphere. Well, basically, like, all vineyards in the world are located between 30 and 50 degrees north and south. Like, that's like the prime growing region for grapes. Like, anything outside of that is going to be either too cold or too warm for them to like ripen properly. So if you look on a map, like, you'll see that all of the regions are kind of like within the same the same like degrees as each other. So then for the Southern Hemisphere, it's Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and then in South America, it's Chile, Argentina. But Brazil has a couple wineries, and Uruguay has some too. Those are like the big four in South America.
So climate change could really mess with winemaking, huh?
Oh yeah, it already is. That was a big thing that we talked about in my class, and it affects everybody. I mean, winemakers and wine drinkers, it affects everybody differently, but a general consensus from what I can tell is like winemaking regions are probably going to be getting a bit more and more northern. Like, the more southern ones, it's getting too hot and they ripen too quickly, and that like fully affects the entire winemaking process. It affects the final product. Climate change is going to have like a huge impact. I mean, yeah, on winemaking and the wine world. And that's something I want to look into more, though.
Have you ever thought, is it brewing? Do you brew wine?
Brewing?
I know you brew beer.
Like,
what's the process of making wine? Does it have a name?
Wine well, yeah. I mean, like, you ferment the grapes. There's different ways of fermenting them, and then you, depending on what it is, like, you'll let it age. And like a red, you'll let it age in a barrel, I think is what you're thinking of.
Have you thought about becoming a wine maker, or are you much more inclined to be a wine taster?
I'm not opposed. I definitely don't know as much about that end of things. But that might be something that if I went and worked on a vineyard, like, I could learn more about. That seems like I'm not opposed to like picking grapes and, like cleaning out a big tank, like, and doing more like physical labor as opposed to like, like selling really expensive bottles in a nice restaurant. Like, both are equally interesting to me, but that's not something I really have any experience with. So I would need to go see kind of firsthand, because my like knowledge of how wine is made is pretty basic, honestly.
I have to say, it's pretty cool to hear you go from being sick and kind of miserable about it, and then we start talking about a thing you love, and your energy and vitality audibly come back. That's cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I do kind of feel myself perking up a little bit. It's fun because I'm not someone...
Oh, it's fun because what?
Oh, sorry. I'm not someone who ever really had like a passion. And I wouldn't go so far as to say that this is like my passion, but it is kind of nice to like put all my energy into something, you know, like even when I was growing up, like I played sports, I had friends, but there was not something that I would go through phases of different interests, but it is like fun to have. And it feels like kind of something that you can talk to anybody about. Like most people know something about wine, you know? And so I'm kind of excited about it, but it's fun to talk about with you. And
Are you confident in your ability to discern a good wine from a less good wine, a cheap wine from an expensive wine? Also, my understanding is that not all cheap wines are bad. Not all expensive wines are mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the belief that whatever you like is fine, you know, like as long as you are happy with what you're drinking. Like I like to drink cheap wine. Like I still like a boxed wine every now and then, just as much as like I like a nice like Pinot Noir. I don't know. I think there are certain giveaways that you can kind of tell, like most cheap wines, like best way I can explain it is like they're kind of out of balance. Like I think a big thing with wine is like sweet, right? Like people don't like sweet wines or they do like sweet wines. But the thing about sweet wines is like they can be really good as long as they're balanced with acid. Like the example they gave in class is like when you're drinking lemonade, like it's very sweet, but it's also very acidic, you know? So like your mouth feels clean. There's not like, if that makes sense, like you need to balance out these different elements. And so when someone says they don't like sweet wine, I just think that they maybe haven't had a wine that's like well balanced. And that's something that a more quality wine will have more balance. Like you can have a very quality sweet wine, like Riesling is a very common example from Germany primarily. Like those wines are sweet, but they're super high acid. And so it's not like, it doesn't leave this like residual feeling in your mouth that I think a lot of people are turned off by. But in general, like a cheap wine, I would say, yeah, it tastes maybe a little too sweet, or maybe it's a little bit too acidic. Like something is out of balance. That's kind of like a telltale sign. That makes sense.
It does. I'm very glad that I learned my limitations young. I'm glad that I realized where I was at, where I was headed. I stopped drinking before I graduated college. I do.
Oh, I didn't know that about you.
Oh,
you don't drink at all?
I've been sober for 23 years now. I do sometimes wish, I'm fairly confident in my mid-40s that I could have a drink at a party and then drive home like hours later like other people do just to relax. But it doesn't seem like the risk is worth the reward. But one thing that I do get bummed about sometimes is when I tell you that I never had wine outside of college kid wines. The only wines I ever remember drinking were Boone's Farm, which is that even wine? Does that even count as a wine? And Carlo.
I've never heard of that.
You've never heard of Boone's? Oh, Boone's, man.
Boone's Farm.
You never heard of Boone's Farm wine and you're sommelier? You got it. Boone's Farm is... Hold on. I'm going to just look it up to even see. Yeah, I think it does technically qualify as a wine. Strawberry Hill was my flavor of choice back then. To give you an idea, I just Googled Boone's Farm to make sure I had the name right and it's still around. It's all fruity flavors of wine. They come in 750 milliliter bottles. And when
I'm looking at a blue Hawaiian one right now.
You can see $3.29, $5.99, $2.99.
Yeah, wow.
These are... sold at liquor stores in college towns to get kids messed up. They're not good. Strawberry Hill was my flavor of choice when it came to Boone's Farm wine. And then Carlo Rossi, I remember in college, we'd sometimes have Carlo Rossi wine because you could buy it by the gallon. You could buy an actual gallon for like 12, $15. So the only experiences I had with wine were from the perspective of someone who went so hard at drinking for a few brief years that he stopped in his early 20s. So you can see, and I think I missed out on some level of culture, some level of conversation because of that. And I do regret that. I don't think it's worth me going, maybe I should experiment with drinking after decades of not drinking. But I do also understand that there's a level of connection that comes via wine, that there's a level of conversation that comes via wine. And other liquors as well have their versions of this, right? Like these people who can go into a whiskey bar where you also smoke cigars.
Yeah.
Like that's going to attract a certain type of person. And there's a certain type of I don't envy the drinking. I do envy we are sharing in a collective activity that suggests we have something in common and certain things that we are able to talk about with one another. I think there's a shorthand with wine in particular that opens you up to figuring out how you're around people like you via your drink choices. And I do get bummed that I don't have that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I can understand what you're saying, but I will say, like, we're having like a nice conversation about wine. I didn't even realize you didn't drink. Like, I feel like you kind of have a base understanding of what you're like. You kind of know what you're talking about, so it's still like easy to talk to you about it. But maybe from your perspective, it's not as you don't get to like share in the community of it, which I can understand as well.
I would actually say that both the number one skill I have in life, as well as my greatest Achilles heel in life, is that I can talk about a lot of things on a pretty surface level. And when it comes to getting in depth, I need you to help walk me through all this.
Wait, why is that an Achilles heel? What's bad about that?
Because I feel like I constantly know enough to get into a room and never know enough to actually fit in. But it's not about me. Let's talk about you and wine.
Well, I actually want to say something else, which is not about wine, but like, can we talk about how you like posted the phone number and then posted it again? And like, I got through, like, because I have been wanting to talk to you for a while, and I called today. I was like, I'm sick. I'm here. Like, I don't have anything to do today. I'm kind of like sitting around, feeling sorry for myself. And I just had when I went to the store to buy my Dayquil, I like had the vision of talking to you today. And then you like posted the number and I called right away and I didn't get through. And then I kind of was like, okay, whatever. Like I tried. And then you post again and you're like, it could be like, it's my lucky day, but it feels like so like kismet to me. Like I really had a vision of speaking to you today. And then
meant to be
the ups and downs of getting here. Crazy.
Well, we had a caller who fell through, and Andrea was like, I had somebody, but I need a little more time. Then we had somebody on the line ready to go. And right as I sat down, Andrea was like, I was just about to patch them through. They hung up. So this was meant to be as far as you and I talking.
Crazy. Why do you think people hang up? You think they get scared?
I think sometimes people turn around and go, wait, I'm at work. I can't just spend the next 2 hours on the phone and get myself in trouble. Or maybe some people go, wait, I don't have much to actually say. This was an exciting thought, but I'll call back some other time when I have more on my mind. Who knows? And then sometimes people are like, fuck it, I'm sick. I need somebody to talk to. Let's go.
No, that was so me. Like,
yeah.
I could not have come at a better time. Like, perfect. Interesting. Okay. Can I tell you how I found the podcast?
Yeah, sure.
I found it about a year ago on Reddit.
Ooh.
Because I was kind of, I don't know, like I had just gone through a breakup, and I went through like a friend breakup around the same time. And so I lost two big people in my life kind of around the same time. And I just was sort of like, what's wrong with me? Like, what? I don't know. And I went on Reddit and I was looking for recommendations of like podcasts to kind of like make you think about something besides yourself. And I found this podcast, and I recognized your voice. Like, I didn't recognize your name, but I recognized your voice from The Office, of course, but I really like you in Broad City. Broad City is like my favorite show.
Oh,
So thanks. I'm kind of a fan of you from Broad City more so than The Office. And I recognized your voice when I first listened. I'm like, he sounds like Alana's boss from Broad City. And then I did some research and I found out that it was you.
Now, would you agree Reddit is both everything that's amazing and everything that's horrible about the internet simultaneously?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I don't use it too much. I kind of just use it for like sort of like word of mouth recommendations that I don't really know how to get from people in person. Like, I haven't really been to like the dark, like the underbelly of Reddit, but I've heard stories. Do you use Reddit a lot?
I check it fairly often. I use it, for the same stuff everybody else does. See how everybody else is reacting to that college basketball game I just watched. See if I can get some restaurant recommendations in a city that I'm not in. The problem is I'm also public enough that I have to sometimes read about myself on Reddit, and it has a real dark side. Real dark side.
What? Well,
let's not even get into it.
What are they?
Let's not even get into it.
We don't have to.
Okay.
No, we don't
have to. You want us to just be... We've got...
Moving swiftly along.
We've got 24 minutes left, and all of it could be me having a meltdown about things I've read about myself on Reddit, so let's not do it. Andrea also says...
Okay, no, let's not.
Andrea says the two callers who it didn't work out should call back, and lots of people get to Andrea and then immediately say, I didn't actually expect to get through, and panic and hang up. Andrea says that that's a very common thing that happens with our little show here.
Yeah, I did that once too, so I understand.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
I understand.
Now, this one's flying by. We've got 24 minutes left. What else do you want to talk about?
What else do I want to talk about? I kind of want to talk about some mental health stuff that's gone on in my life that isn't mine personally, but has affected me. And I feel like it kind of makes me think of some other stories that I've heard on this show. It's going to be a total 180 from what we were just talking about.
Okay.
But
so
I feel
from
like
wine adventures, Georgian wine buried in casks, the effects of climate change on the wine industry. Let's buckle up. What's this new direction we're going in?
So just like a little bit of trauma, and then we can like make it fun again. Well, my dad had like a full psychotic break when I was in college. Like, he kind of slowly was losing his mind as I was a teenager. And then my junior year of college, he like fully lost his mind and is now like, I haven't seen him in like 4 years. And he, I don't really know how to, like, it's hard to explain because I don't really know anyone who's been through something like this. Like, it's like he's gone. Like, the man that raised me is completely gone. Like, he does not exist anymore. And there's been like a lot of drama with him recently. Like, he just got arrested recently just for like a disturbance thing. But it's so hard to explain to people like that. Like, he doesn't even really have a full diagnosis. And I'm so like out of the loop. Like, my parents are split up and my mom is totally amazing and normal and healthy. And I love her and I have a great relationship with her. And I'm left with this like prolonged loss with him. Like, I grieve him every day and he's still like alive, but he like left his house in the middle of the night. Like, I think he's living out of his car now. And it's not something you can really like even make any peace with. Like, I just have to worry about him like every day. And I don't know if anyone else has had something like that happen to them, but it's just something that I have to think about on a day-to-day without having any real control over the situation.
Had your parents already split up, or did they split up because of these issues?
A little bit of both. I mean, there were signs even when I was a kid that, I mean, I didn't notice really at all. And they split up after the 2016 election. They split up, and my mom voted for Hillary Clinton, and my dad voted for Trump. And that was kind of like the start of his like descent into, like, he really got into the Trump thing, which is why I think that like mental illness is so tied to being like a Trump supporter. Like, the way they like flock to him, and like he ended up getting really deep into like conspiracy theories. Like, during COVID was one of the last times I saw him, and he was like very much anti-vax, like anti-big pharma, talking about how like getting vaccinated would lead to human enslavement, like that kind of thing. And became really like religious and homophobic, which was just, he was not like that when I was a kid at all. He was like an atheist, and he wasn't homophobic. Like, we grew up in a very liberal town. He just like kind of spiraled and found all these things, and then I like self-isolated, and it has now just been spiraling by himself for like 3 years. So
it was only about, it seems like you maybe sensed stuff that seemed a little off when you were younger, but it's been about 3 years since it's really been this rapid descent.
When I was a kid, he definitely had like a hard time regulating his emotions, and he was kind of like an odd guy, like just didn't really have a lot of friends, and didn't have, like, he really hated his job, and he would get really angry, but he was still like my dad, you know? And then they split when I was like 15. So I was just like peak angsty teenager, like blamed it all on my mom, which I feel terrible about now. And then when I was in college, like, it became really clear that he was unwell. And then he was hospitalized just for like a couple days, I think. And then they let him, but I haven't seen him in a really long time, basically. Like, I think coming up on 4 years that I haven't like physically seen him. And I think I talked to him on the phone once about like nonsense, like he gets like fixated on like random things, basically. But I went through a phase of like texting him, and he would never respond. I have problems with my grandparents as well, because they don't really understand what's going on with him. Like, I just don't think they really understand like what mental illness is. Like, it's just not a thing to them, if that makes sense. Like,
it does.
And so he wasn't really raised with this conversation. Like, you can live with mental illness, like you could, like, but that's not how he was raised. And so I have all this like anger towards them for like, I don't know, like not raising him different. I don't know. Is what I'm saying making sense? Or am I?
Oh, no,
like,
it makes total sense. And it's super sad. And to hear about, you know, it's really remarkable how generationally there's been so much progress in terms of how we think about mental illness, but then to see people from older generations handling it in a way that doesn't help the person who needs the help, that makes total sense. It's really frustrating. If anything, I'm amazed to hear you be able to talk about it so calmly and so matter of fact.
Oh, thank you. It's it's a big part of who I am. And I've noticed, just like you said, like the way that different generations respond to it. And it is like a genetic thing. So I'm prepared for a potential future in which it's more like when he was my age, he was not the way he is now. Like I have this sort of fear that maybe I'll like confront some generational, or I'm sorry, like mental illness issues that I inherited. Like it's genetic, or like what happens when I have a kid who's struggling with mental illness. I don't want to ignore it. Like I've seen what that does. Like you have to address it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do you worry about it with yourself? Are there times where you have a bad day and you go, am I having a bad day? Or are these emotions getting out of control in a way that I recognize? Is that a fear that you have to worry about? Let's pause right there. And in these conversations that are so personal and intense, it always feels a little strange to pause for ads, but it is the nature of the beast. And so we shall pause for ads. We'll be right back. I'm traveling next week. I'm traveling and I'm speaking at an education conference. This is a thing that I do sometimes through my nonprofit work. And I will tell you one thing for certain. When I speak in front of 300 people, I will be wearing a sweater from Quince because I look good and I feel good and the Quince stuff travels really well. And I will make sure that sweater comes with me because, man, it is a power sweater. And I'm the type of guy that really needs a power sweater. And the other thing is, I don't feel like breaking the bank on it. And Quince has all of our backs on that. A lot of people are going to be traveling soon. Vacation season's almost here. This year, I'm treating myself to the luxe upgrades I deserve with Quince's high-quality travel essentials at fair prices. They have lightweight shirts and shorts from $30, pants for any occasion, comfortable lounge sets, premium luggage options, durable duffel bags to carry everything. And the best part is all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman. The savings get passed on to people like you and I. And Quince also only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. I love that. Spending money at a company that has committed to working at high standards in terms of their ethics, can't recommend that highly enough. And on top of it, Quince products are really, really good. You're going to be psyched. Like I said, I'm going to have my Quince sweaters packed up. Am I going to wear the charcoal one or the gray one on stage? Haven't quite decided yet. I'll probably just bring them both so I have the peace of mind of knowing that I have not one, but two sweaters where I feel like I look pretty good in them. And that day of, I can decide right there. Cannot wait to rock out with my Quince sweaters. For your next trip, treat yourself to the luxe upgrades you deserve from Quince. Go to quince.com/beautiful for 365-day returns, plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/beautiful. You'll get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/beautiful. Thanks to all the advertisers that allow us to bring this show to the world. Now let's finish the phone call. Are there times where you have a bad day and you go, am I having a bad day? Or are these emotions getting out of control in a way that I recognize? Is that a fear that you have to worry about?
No, honestly, no, not in myself, not that I've noticed.
Great.
Yet.
What a great thing.
Yeah, I knock on wood. But you never know. Like there were signs of him. I was a kid, like I didn't know. I wasn't paying attention to him. I was focused on myself. And I still haven't really had like a full conversation with my mom about like her entire marriage with him. And I don't know if that's something I really want to talk about or if it's something that she wants to talk about either. But I feel for her as well because, I mean, she was with him. They were married for 23 years. And she fell in love with him for a reason. And I think that kind of scares me too, like how much someone can change.
I have to say, if you're someone who's had your life affected by mental illness around you and you're acutely aware of mental illness, I also get why you wouldn't want to spend too many years in New York City.
Yeah.
Both in how it makes you feel
Yeah.
and the fact that you are sadly around a lot of mental illness in that city all the time.
I know it's kind of hard to see how, I mean, like, just like, I mean, like homelessness here and how homeless people with mental health issues are treated like animals. It's really insane versus like going to Europe where even people that are homeless, like they have access to water and they're treated like humans. And like, it is really, really hard to see here. I definitely do. And I've become so used to it too. That's the other thing that kind of scares me. Like, it's just another day and you're outside, you're going to see like 10 to 15 people that are really, really struggling.
Yeah. I remember when I moved there, when I was 24, being very, very affected, just seeing people on the subways, people on the streets. And I remember realizing that I had become a little numb to it. And I remember really not liking that feeling of like, I don't want to be someone that can just step over someone who's laid out on a sidewalk. And for people who have not lived in New York, it's not an exaggeration. Sometimes you're coming over the subway steps and physically stepping over a person in need who's laying on a sidewalk. And you realize, I can't believe I just did that because I have to get somewhere. Can't believe that's how we function in this town. So I can get New York burning you out is the puzzle pieces are connecting in some other ways right now, for sure.
Yeah. I have like a fear that my dad will end up like homeless like that, because you never really know how people end up in that position, right? Like they were all, I mean, it depends, right? But he doesn't live in a home right now that I know of. And he has like some serious mental health issues going on. And in my head, like that's like worst case scenario where this ends up.
It's super scary to think about that reality. You said you haven't talked to him in years. Do you have an idea of where he is?
He'll like resurface every once in a while. He recently resurfaced in my hometown and was like making a disturbance at like a town hall meeting. And that's where he got arrested, because he has this whole thing about like letting his voice be heard and like his right to free speech. And then sometimes he'll like, my grandparents live in the Midwest, and he'll sometimes like resurface, but kind of around where they have more contact with him than I do, but they totally construe, like when they talk about it, it's so hard to gauge like actually what's going on, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. On the one hand, I sit here, I go, I'm glad to hear he's in your hometown because at least there might be some infrastructure and people who care about him there. And then on the other hand, I go, that's got to be also so rough because I'm sure you still know people who live there and people who are aware of what's happening. And that's got to be really brutal.
Yeah, that's another fear. I mean, my mom doesn't live there anymore, luckily. So when I do go home, it's not to that town anymore. And my brother and I have been out of the school system there for a really long time, or, you know, for like 6 or 7 years now. But I do still know people that live there, and it is a fear. And I'm not like exaggerating when I say he did not have like a single friend in that town. Like there's no one that's actually like looking out for him there. I think if anyone knows him, they know of him as like my mom's ex-husband or like my dad. And I don't like that that's tied to me. And I just try not to think about, you know, like what people might think about when he's clearly very, very unwell from what, like, I just had to speak to a police officer the other day about like this like disturbance that he made at this meeting.
I feel like you're very, very good at talking about this, which is remarkable considering
Thank you.
that it's your dad and you're young and he should still be a very active dad presence in your life, and he's not. But I'll say as well, I sense compassion, I sense fear, I sense anger, and I find it very hard to understand totally where those percentages are calibrated. I don't know if you do as well, but I can tell you kind of have to put the guard up to even talk about this a little bit, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of like made my peace with it. Like there was like a good 8 months where like no one heard anything from him. And it was kind of nice. And just recently it's kind of like re-entered the forefront of my brain. And I definitely approach it now with like a sort of like calmness, because I've had to explain it like kind of a decent amount of time. Like people that are close to me, I want them to know, like, and I can't just say he's not in the picture. Like he's not like a deadbeat dad. That's not what it is. You know, like it's more complicated than that. And so that's not how I want to frame him. So I've kind of like honed the way that I like explain the situation. And I guess every time it kind of brings up something new. I used to be really sad. Like I used to just like listen to the music that he played when I was a kid and like cry and look at photos of us and like look at myself in the mirror and see how I kind of look like him and just like sob. And I really haven't done that in a long time, because it's just kind of become, it just is what it is, you know? And like, I don't foresee him ever getting help. I know how against he is. Like he's so opposed to like being medicated. So I really don't see that happening. And so I guess it's kind of just like a protection method to just really try to accept that it is what it is. And it's a very like unique situation. And it only affects a couple people. Like, I don't mean this in like a mean way, but there are very few people that like know him and love him. Like his circle was very small, even before all of this happened. So it's not like there's a big community of people that I have to go through this with. It's really just me and my brother, honestly, that we, you know, like rely on each other and keep each other strong. But it's every time, I guess it's kind of different when I think about it.
You mentioned your brother helping to keep you strong. I'm wondering, what are the other ways you got there? Because I'm certain there must be other people listening right now who have family members who are unwell, who go through any range of emotions. I'll say on my end, I'm someone who's worked really hard to get past a lot of my own mental health issues. There are also people in my family who have them, and it's a different ball of wax. And even as someone who's been through it, sometimes finding patience, finding grace, finding compassion, not always easy. And to hear you be able to say everything you just said so beautifully, I wonder if there's, you know, you mentioned your brother. What are the other things that have helped you get to this place? Because it's not a place everybody gets to.
I think it's honestly really helpful for me to talk about it. And like, I used to be embarrassed, and it's really like, it can be really uncomfortable to talk about. It can be really hard for me to explain to friends of mine that have like parents that are together and a dad that like takes us out to dinner. Like it can be really tough for me to explain to that girl, like why I'm crying, you know, like, but the more that I talk about it and like make it not this stigmatized, I mean, it is still a stigmatized thing, but you kind of take control of it. Like, it's okay to talk about what's going on with your family. Like, and it's okay to like let people in on that. It's a huge part of who I am. And I want people to know like the things that make me who I am. And the first couple, everyone kind of reacts to it differently. I have friends that they can't even wrap their heads around it. And I have a couple of friends that have sort of similar situations to the situation that I'm in. And the more I talk about it, like, it doesn't make me, not necessarily doesn't make me feel better, but like, it just reminds me that it's okay to talk about it. Basically, you don't have to like be ashamed. Like it's okay. That would be my advice, I guess.
Yeah. It's so much easier said than done, and I really applaud you for getting there.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm glad I brought it up, I guess.
You mentioned that you haven't really talked to your mom in depth about being married to him and all the steps of the process. How often do you talk to your mom about just in general? Because it's a void in her life as well. So I wonder how often it even comes up.
I know that she feels really bad for my brother and I. Not like that she should be, like, not that she's responsible for any of it, but she feels bad that we have to go through this, like, difficulty in navigating this with him. And anytime there's a development with him, I do talk to her about it. Like, her and I have a very open relationship, but I also kind of get the sense that she feels like it's so out of her hands now. Like, this thing with the police, they wanted to talk to her, and she's like, well, I already told these other police officers everything I know. Like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, they have access to everything. I've already told them everything. Like, she doesn't want to keep, like, reliving it, I think. And I guess I try to be respectful of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. It's so sad. It's so sad to see someone who needs help not get it, to see it pull apart relationships, to see a human shaped void in your life and other people's lives. It's really so sad.
Yeah. It is. It's really hard too, because it is a loss, but it doesn't look like maybe what other people would define a loss as, because it's sort of this like amorphous thing, and he's not fully gone, but I know he'll never be himself again.
Also makes sense why you are looking for a phase of life where you just wander from one corner of the world to the other and don't lay down roots so hard. It does seem to go hand in hand with needing to do some soul searching, needing to really give yourself some breathing room to figure out who you are.
Yeah. That definitely is some of the, that's like the main appeal, I think. But I'm scared. I'm still, I feel good after this conversation, like, and I knew I would, but it's scary to like just get up and go.
I think it's pretty necessary though.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too.
I don't think it does you any favors to stay still in a city that is notoriously stressful, thinking really hard about your dad, when you could go on some adventures, learn about yourself, build up the resume, and in the process have as much space and breathing room from this as you want by creating physical distance where people can't get to you, news can't get to you. I think it's well earned, and I think it's going to be really healthy.
Yeah, thank you. And, New York will always be here when I get back. It's not going anywhere.
Indeed it will. Indeed it will. I saw my old roommate the other day, and we were laughing. I was like, we lived together for 8 years in an apartment that our 2 bedrooms, the bathroom, the kitchen, and our living room could fit inside my current living room. And I don't have a huge house. It's not like where I'm living in Jersey is some big mansion. It's actually one of the smaller houses in town. We could fit our entire apartment in like the family room.
And that's what we're here for. That's what I'm paying for. I'm sitting in my room right now, and it's literally just a bed in a tiny room. And that's my whole world.
Yeah, nah.
And do you want to hear a crazy story of one of my crazier New York stories?
I do. Time is up. But let's hear it.
Okay, my last apartment, there was a ton of flooding from the side of my coming in from the side of my building, and a lot of mold like grew within the walls, and a mushroom grew out of my ceiling.
How much were you paying for that apartment?
$2,200.
You were paying $2,200, and this is just for a room. This is not a one-bedroom.
This was a studio. This is my last apartment.
So it was a studio. Okay.
Now I have a roommate.
$2,200, but literal fungus growing from the walls and ceilings.
Yeah. Yes.
New York. Love
it so much. Gotta love it. Anything to be close, like walking distance to the bagel.
I was just gonna say, if you got a bodega on the corner, I'll take fungus in the walls.
Yeah.
That being said, our time is up on the free feed. I have to say, to hear about your adventures, to hear about your profession in the beginning, and then to hear about your family life and everything happening with your dad, didn't expect it to go that way, but man, what a call. Are you cool to hang out for a few more minutes behind the paywall and answer some random questions submitted by our listeners?
Yeah, sure.
Caller, thank you so much for the first half where you shared with us your passions, the second half where you got vulnerable and let us know about your family life. It's not easy to do so, and I gotta say, I appreciate all sides of that conversation. So thank you so much for calling and sharing and being so open and vulnerable. Thank you to our producer, Andrea Quinn, the High Priestess of Beautiful Anonymous. Thank you to Shellshag for our theme music. If you want to know more about me, including upcoming shows in Los Angeles and Hawaii, go to punchup.live/Chris Gethard. We got a voicemail line at 973-306-4676. We're on Instagram at Beautiful Anonymous Pod. We are also on TikTok now. We are also at the Facebook group, Beautiful Anonymous Community, where you can have really lovely discussions that are laid back with other people, and it makes it worth it staying on Facebook. So thanks to everybody over there for being such a great community. This week on Beautiful Anonymous Plus, here's some of what you'll get from the 5 questions. This could be answered as a sommelier. This could be answered as someone who's lived through a lot. Is the cup half full or half empty?
Oh God. I feel like, and I did say I'm kind of like a negative person, didn't I? I've never even really thought about this question. I feel like I want to, you know what? I am going to become a cup half full kind of person. It doesn't matter what I am right now. I want to be someone who sees it as cup half full.
Don't forget to sign up for Beautiful Anonymous Plus at beautifulanonymous.com.